have gotten to the end of my life and gone, I missed everything that matters because I knew what mattered the whole time, but I thought I would never get those things. So I went, all right, no woman's gonna love me. Well, you know who's gonna love me? Rolling Stone magazine. And that's not how love works, bud. Rolling Stone magazine does not love you. Better Man is the Robbie Williams biopic that's also a musical, and also he's a monkey. I think this movie is a great analysis of how if all you want to do is become famous, you'll listen to anyone to tell you who you are.
And I think this movie is a deceptively nuanced take on what it's like to want validation more than anything else in your life, including your parents' love, especially if they're intermeshed. And this movie didn't get the flowers it deserved. And that being said, I'm Charles.
And I'm Alex, and I can't stop watching this weird monkey movie.
It's good.
I'm all about it.
It's really good. I mean, people, it didn't get great marketing, and it's because, frankly, we were in a Marvel cinematic climate. Like every movie that came out, if it didn't have the Marvel brand on it, it basically was sent off to die. Like that's how all of the movies that came out around the time Better Man were, and it's a real shame because it's a great movie on a lot of different levels. So we had to cover it. I mean, I got introduced to it by Alex. I knew that it existed, but I didn't go out to go see it. Unfortunately, I was one of the people that contributed to the problem. Not in the same way that other people went to see a Marvel movie. I did not go see any Marvel movies. I got burned out off of Marvel after Iron Man 1. Like I stopped watching them back then.
Wow.
But, yeah, I
thought there were some good ones after that, but I do. We're all burnt now, so don't you worry.
Yeah, I'm not saying there weren't good ones. There definitely were good Marvel movies. It's just like I saw Iron Man 1 with my best friend who passed away. He and I saw it, and we geeked out for like a month. We was like, we need to build an Iron Man suit, and it was crazy.
We've built a keyboard before. How hard could this be?
Right. Yeah, because when they said he built this in a cave, like we just took that too literally and personally. It's just like he built it in a cave. We don't live in caves. You know, we could build Iron Man suits.
With a box of scraps. We got nicer shit than scraps. Come on.
Right, exactly. So me and him saw it, and then like we thought it was very good, but then after that I was like, I don't need to do this no more. I'm good. I've been watching Marvel movies since 1998. I started with Blade. Yeah. I don't need any more.
Oh boy. I think we're good. And they're still threatening to make a new Blade that they'll probably never actually do. But that's how we've circled. So when a friend of the show, Lawson Leong, and I saw Fantastic Four: First Steps, which we did generally like, but it takes place in an alternate universe. And I was like, hey, Lawson, they figured out movies again. It's just not part of the continuity. It's like, it's a separate one. I'm like, oh, you mean movies? They're doing movies.
They're doing movies. It's funny because like the original wave of I'm old enough to remember the original wave of Marvel movies where Marvel was still dealing with its bankruptcy and it had to send all of its properties to different studios. So Miramax had some, and then like New Line Cinema had Blade, and Sony had some of Marvel's properties. Like they had they didn't have X-Men. They had Spider-Man.
They had Spider-Man.
Right, and then Fox had X-Men. They were all over the place because they were a dying company. So that first batch of like that terrible Daredevil movie, and then Elektra, and the 2 Ghost Rider movies, and the Punisher, and the Raimi Spider-Man. The Raimi Spider-Man movies were amazing, but most of those movies were awful, and they were not connected at all. And then all of a sudden they were just like, let's make a Captain America movie and a Thor movie and an Iron Man movie and a Hulk movie and connect them all together and see what would happen. And then we were trapped in that well for like 15 years, and now and it's
where does all this end? It's me going, the monkey movie's better.
Yeah, right. There's a whole generation of kids, all they know is Marvel movies. And you know, to the credit of the people who did those movies before that, Marvel was one of those obscure things that only weirdo nerdy kids liked. I loved Marvel way before they were able to have a movie. I remember fantasizing about having a Marvel movie. That was something that could not exist. Now it's everywhere. I liked anime
before people gave me compliments at the gym for my Spike Spiegel shirt. I remember being quite unpopular for that stance. And now everyone's like, oh, that's a red Naruto backpack. I'm like, where were you 20, 30 years ago?
Right.
Oh, you were picking on me. Never mind.
Right, yeah. And we've moved on completely. So that's really what happened with Better Man. It got swept up. It got it's one of those. It got obliterated by the wave of Marvel. And it's such a good movie, especially if you're somebody like me. I have a VFX background. Like I do video editing and things like. If you couldn't tell by looking at your screen right now, that's what I do for a living. That's how I feed my family. And Better Man, I think the facial software that was used for the monkey on Robbie Williams was Weta. Weta does a lot of like really amazing animals and things like that. Usually it's those guys that does the best special effects. And the way
did they do the new Planet of the Apes?
I think they did. Yeah, I think it was them who did that too. I think it's
similar. That's how they pitched it. Like, okay, we have the best monkey CGI, but we're gonna make. Do you want to? Did you love Caesar the Ape, but you're mad he never cried while doing cocaine? Well, we're gonna fix that. So.
Yeah.
That monkey does so much cocaine.
He does a lot of, and then he goes blonde once.
I love it. It's so good. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, that was a good scene. He looked like Slim Shady as a chimpanzee. It was great. But yeah, so I really appreciated that. And the thing that it reminded me of the old days where high-end special effects in a movie was a commodity and a rare one. So when they advertise a movie, they would say the special effects movie of the summer. They would say stuff like that because like to have a movie with special effects in it was very, very rare, and usually they were awful, but when they were good, they were amazing. That's why The Matrix still exists, because that was a special effects movie of its summer. So, and it felt like that. Like, it felt like it should have been a legitimate event film, but all of cinema was being just dominated by Marvel. So I'm just glad that it still existed anyway, in spite of the fact that it did so bad in the box office.
It's a mixture of a few things. One, it is very much not what sounds like it would sell. Two, it is on its own. It's quite the pitch. Okay, Robbie Williams, but he's to make this not just a standard. I guess they kind of looks like cast biopic. We're going to just make him a monkey. It's like when I heard about it and saw the trailer, I was like, why are we doing this? And then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score and it was like 4,000. I'm like, all right, I guess it's good. Well, I don't have a whole lot of movie money, so I'm still not going to see it, but I'm going to rent it when it's like $6. And then I watched it and I was like, why didn't I go see this? And I watched it like 10 more times. And it was my comfort movie for this whole difficult year, if I'm honest.
It's a good movie. I mean, especially if you're the kind of person who, well, honestly, it's good for a lot of different kinds of people, frankly. Like, it's good for people who are extroverted and want to be famous. It's good for people who have deep insecurities, maybe father wounds, mother wounds, people who are introverted but felt like they needed to be on stage at some point but couldn't get the courage and or motivation to step out into their own spotlight. It's good in a lot of ways. It's also affirming about talent. Like, I was rewatching it yesterday and I love the line that he wrote. He said his philosophy about how to be famous. You don't really need to be that talented. You just kind of have to be cheeky and kind of a show off. And I'm like, well, he's got a point. Those are very important skills. And the amount of celebrities that we have now that are legitimately untalented, like they have nothing going on. They're not doing anything. I mean, what is Kim Kardashian's talent? For real.
Failing to get a law degree and sucking up resources.
Sucking up something.
Yeah. Resources, other things. Yeah.
So her talent is sucking at things. Good. There we go.
Yes. Yeah. I think this movie is also, in a way that I think is really good and subtle. It's a movie about, I don't even know if it realizes it is, but it is. It's a movie about a codependent. Because this guy is like, please tell me who I am. Please, he's trying to make the entire world regulate his nervous system, and he has to learn that that's not how you look yourself in the mirror, and that is the codependent's journey. is I am responsible, like we talked about the geese episode, I am responsible for my own, column of emotional autonomy staying intact. I can't go, if Liam Gallagher likes me, then I'll like myself. Oh, he doesn't like me? Oh, I guess, but maybe if I play the biggest concert ever, and then it's not gonna help, bud. Your grandma knew that, and you had to learn it after a while. Your dad definitely didn't know that, but...
Yeah, 100%. We should give people a little bit of context, especially for those like mainly American listeners that we have, because
Yes.
Or viewers, because I don't know, y'all might be listening to this on Spotify or not looking at the video itself, which is fine. I put in a lot of effort to those animations.
Which, not to be passive aggressive.
Not to be passive aggressive.
You can do better.
Yeah. So why don't you tell them who Robbie Williams is? Because it's actually a running joke that he's famous basically everywhere in the world but the U.S.
Yeah, and that was also, I think, a big factor in this movie not really rousing an American audience to see it. So Robbie Williams is a pop star from the north of England. He is essentially famous everywhere except the United States. I have no idea why. And he came from pretty modest background, working class, and then he auditioned for a boy band. He got it. He hated it. He spiraled out on drugs, got a solo career. His drug problem got so much worse, and he kind of just kept leveling up expectations the way you do when you don't really, when you're after a goal that isn't really going to help, fill your void. He said, like, I'm gonna play Nebworth at 250,000 people, the biggest concert in British history, and none of it made him happy. And then he realized, I need to stop doing drugs, I need to stop drinking, I need to fix my issues. And now he lives in LA with his wife and 4 kids, and he reads way too much about the UFOs. It's a story of growth, but also I think he thinks Pizzagate's real, so I don't know how much growth. But point being, he's got a beautiful voice.
Yes, he has a great voice. He described himself as having cabaret in his heart straight out of birth.
Yes.
Yeah. And would you call him a crooner? I'm not even sure 100% what a crooner is.
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm qualified to say what a crooner is, but I think you bring up something important, and I think the movie plays with well. At no point does this movie want you to think that Robbie Williams is a musical genius.
Nope.
I think it's smart because he's not. He's a great performer, and he's a great singer, and he's very charming, and you can see why he's so successful. But at no point, all the Bob Dylan movies I've shown you are like throwing it in your face, like, look how brilliant this guy is, because he is. This is like, you know what? This is somebody who is very talented, but even he's like, yeah, I'm just like cabaret. It's like I'm doing pop music. It's the song and dance of it all for fun, and it never expects you to make more out of that than it does. And I think that's smart on an expectations level, and also just it leads toward the resolution of the movie, which is, hey, I don't need to be Oasis, I can be Robbie Williams, and that's cool.
Yeah, the self-acceptance is really the ultimate payoff of the movie, and you can hear it in his narration, because you get a lot of different phases and versions of Robbie Williams while watching Better Man, and the one that narrates the majority of the movie is the version of himself that has accepted who he is, because that's the most honest one. Like, up until the very end of the film, he's basically lying about everything that he is, and it's a plot thing. Like, now he's not like, it's not like the narrator is lying about the narrative. Robbie is just doing a lot of lying to himself and occasional lying to others, either by omission or like the general kind of dishonesty that often comes with being fame addicted, which he definitely was. And then just trying to figure out how to get his father to show him the love that his dad never showed him, and then his clinical depression that for most of it he didn't even know he had, which he self-medicated with drugs. There's all of the classic musical biopic tropes are in there, which frankly, that's part of the reason I like the movie, because it is kind of annoying to see those tropes all the time. It's like, does every musician have a drug phase? Do none of y'all just stay clean and make music? Is that why people like what's his name? Who the dude that has done so many movies? He's done a bunch of movie themes, and he did the movie intro for Monk. People are very annoyed by that guy. And I'm imagining he probably didn't even have a drug phase because he hasn't had a biopic yet. What is the name of that dude?
It's like you must have done this much blow to enter like a Ferris wheel.
Right.
Which would be a very interesting Ferris wheel nowadays. We're so fucking high! We're so fucking high!
Yeah, but anyway, I enjoyed that it was a different way. I mean, I guess the movie was aware of the fact that there have been 1,000 biopics that existed before it. Like they had to do something different, and the fact that they made him a CGI monkey was like, okay, well that was entirely unnecessary, but so is he, so it fits.
Yeah, it's really I the more and more I think about it, the more I think that it's a really brilliant choice. For, as you mentioned, it has layers that kind of reveal themselves to you as you watch it more and more. So on the first watch, you're like, all right, this is ridiculous, but like I guess it's a gimmick. And then you watch it and you're like, oh no, this is he's a monkey. Everyone treats him as a person, but he is visually a monkey to show that a few things. One, that classic depression thing of you feel different and you don't know why. And also that usually comes with feeling less than different, like bad different.
Right.
Two, he makes a few references to saying that he is a performing monkey, that he can't stop kind of dancing for the spotlight. Three, he says that how there's a line toward the end where he's in rehab and he says your life freezes at the age you could become famous. So I'm, he was whatever age when he went in, he's a full adult, but he goes, so I'm 15 years old, I'm unevolved. So it's showing you how he is, it's a visual representation of I feel different and ugly and I don't like myself. I feel different from everyone, and I feel like a version of me that is stuck in the past, literally like in an evolution chart. And I think that's a great choice because they not only there's a few moments where they really use the monkey thing to, because he acts like a human most of the time. But a few moments they use the monkey to emphasize how he's kind of scary and dangerous when he's doing that much coke. Right. Because like there's my favorite sequence in the whole movie, or one of my favorite, I just love it all so much, is he is at the Brit Awards, I think, and he's singing with Tom Jones, and it's a monkey like going wah, like baring its fangs and singing into Tom Jones' face, and you're like, I don't feel like Tom Jones is safe right now. and then when the chopper's coming to pick him up from to go to Nebworth, and he's like on that door that he's ripped off of his house in the lake, and he just goes ah! and it's a monkey scream. It's the one point where they gave him like a monkey sound effect, and it emphasizes a very key feeling they're trying to convey, especially with him and his fiancée Nicole, which is, I don't think this guy realizes that he is actually very dangerous for everyone involved with him. Because, did the monkey bite off Tom Jones' face? No. Did it look like he might? Kinda. And I think that's a really cool idea to play with, to have, all these sort of semiotic reasons for why you're making this visual choice, and then lean into it where you're going like, oh yeah, this chimps are dangerous. That's another layer. So there's like 4 or 5 different layers of why he's a monkey, and then he cries and does cocaine. And it's...
I want to dive further into the philosophical value of this movie, because I feel like part of the reason it is so good, I also feel like I say part of the reason it's so good a lot on this podcast. But anyway, I feel like part of the reason this movie... Part of the reason is part of the reason. Is because the parts of the reasons. The parts of the reason. I gotta make a shirt out of that now. Just part of the reason, ... Charles Day Chaser podcast. Anyway, so this movie has a lot of nuance and it's hidden, and we love that. When a movie pretends to be stupid and it's secretly very smart. We always love that. Secretly brilliant, but it's like, and look at the dancing monkey, and you're like, but why am I feeling so many complex, nuanced emotions? Yes. Oh, damn it, monkey movie! Yes. Damn it, monkey movie! Yes. If there's anybody out here watching this podcast and thinking, it would be a great way to promote this film, getting the guys from Day Chaser Media to talk about it, No, but also if you make a script,
but if you want to pay us to do it, why not?
If you make a script the script got to be good. If you make a script that is just like, hey, look how secretly smart this stupid thing is, it's like, okay, we'll watch it, and if we like it, then we'll let you pay us. But
do you remember the episode of South Park called I think it was like the Ballad of Squirty McBoogerballs or something?
Oh, I've only seen it 1,000 times.
it's like, oh my god, this is disgusting. And they cut to Randy, he's covered in puke. He's like, oh, the whole part about Amsterdam, I can't stop crying.
Yeah, that's actually the perfect. Good. That's a perfect.
Cartman accidentally writes the greatest novel of all time.
Right. That's a perfect encapsulation of what we're talking about on this podcast. Exactly. Where if you can take something truly profound and brilliant and just wrap it in something ridiculous, then that's an automatic win for us. Anyway, this movie does that, and there's two things that really stood out to me when it came to this. In the beginning, Robbie talks about how he's not particularly talented, but he realized at a young age, as a young performer, that you don't really have to be that talented. You have to just be kind of cheeky and know how to show off. And then you can build up the charisma to become famous, it was brilliant to me that such a simple philosophy, one, was discovered by a child, but two, carried him for the rest of his life to a point where he was confidently pursuing a career in fame, even running risks like when he failed that one exam and didn't tell his mom that he failed until this movie came out.
Yes.
But I really loved that because it reminded me of when I was a kid. I was a very introverted child, but I also had this desire to want to be in the spotlight and on the stage. Like when I was a kid, I did this program in 6th grade where it was very experimental, but I loved it, where it's like 3 to 6 months out of the year, we didn't have normal class. Instead, we had to produce a play as 6th graders. We had the guidance. They hired a woman for it, and she was brilliant. She was very, very good. And we had her guidance because she had all the skills necessary to walk a bunch of kids through creating a play. And literally from writing it, making the music, writing the lines, coming up with the story, writing the sets, casting the actors, all of this stuff from beginning to end, she coached us through the entire inception of this play and kept us on task for half the year. So every day I went to school, I didn't have a normal lesson plan for that 1 year. We learned this extremely valuable set of skills. At the time, and I remember this very vividly, we all had to sign up to what crew we wanted to join. I signed up for the stage crew, where it was up to us to not only build the sets, but we also had to move the sets in between scenes. And they were pretty simple sets. Basically, we had to build these they were maybe 7-foot double-sided wooden boards that had stands on them, and then no, they weren't double-sided, there were just 8 of them. So we would put the boards up, and they would represent one background, and then the storyline based on the writing of the writing team took a shift where they were pretty much in a totally different environment emotionally. So then we had to create another set of boards to reflect the environment that they had traveled into, and then we did this change 2 or 3 times. The reason I picked this role for myself is because I thought it was a role that I needed to have, because at home I would play Legos all the time, and I was basically very ignored. I grew up a pretty neglected kid, and it didn't seem like I deserved any kind of spotlight. But I felt secretly that I shouldn't have been building the stage or the set. Not to say I wasn't happy doing that. I mean, if you're watching this podcast, clearly I'm happy building things. The set shifts.
I felt like I made myself out of Legos and also my friend and gave him cool Lego hair. That didn't happen at all. Wait a minute. Yeah. Seems like that did happen.
So clearly I'm at home building things. But at the time I thought maybe I should have been an actor. Maybe I should have been something else, because it's like a performer. Because I was not exactly comfortable doing that, but I felt like it was better. It would have been better for me as a person. If it wasn't because I was going to discover some kind of talent, it would have been for the sake of growth. But I was scared, not because I had stage fright, which I did have. I got over it eventually. But I was scared primarily because I felt like I didn't deserve it. And so much of this movie is about a young man and a grown man pursuing fame because he feels like he doesn't deserve love in general. So he tries to force it out of people because he thinks that's the only way he can get it. And that's also the dynamic that defined him and his father. Because Robbie Williams, like, the only way that he could get his father to pay attention to him was by force, and was by appealing to the one thing that his father respected, which was fame. And it's very sad that happened the way it did, but it's also brilliantly told. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah. I think, so this movie speaks to me pretty directly because I did stand-up for many years, and during like the height of depression I had around like the first Trump administration, I went into this kind of tunnel vision is too light a word for what I was feeling.
Wow.
Trying so focused on I have to be famous. And if you really ask me enough questions, like, what does that mean? I'd be like, you know, I'm everywhere, and I'm on magazines, and then everybody have a big following, and they're like, yeah, but what does that mean? You know, I probably couldn't have been able to answer you more than 3 or 4 follow-up questions because being famous is a nebulous goal. Like, there's that brilliant Bruce Lee interview. I can't remember who was doing it with, but it's the one where he does the "be like water" thing.
Oh, that one, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, and so he says. They say, oh, you're a superstar. And he goes, I don't like the word superstar because a star is an illusion. If someone tells me you're a super actor, great. That's a skill I've developed. A superstar, what does that even mean? And so I very much felt, because of depression, because of codependence, and because of, you know, just living in America where you're bombarded with it all the time, and feeling like, okay, my personal life is never going anywhere, and sublimating all that, not even realizing that that's what I had done, saying, oh, clearly I'm personally never going to go anywhere, so I must go, you know, to the stars. And I drove myself so crazy and worked so hard that it ruined my stand-up because I was thinking about nothing else except the craft, which means there's no life coming into what you're doing.
Right.
And I worked so hard and so strenuously that what did I do? I got 2 small detachments of my retinas, which is a symptom of massive overwork and stress.
Yeesh.
That happened to my eyes, and they seem to have healed. Like they just heal or they don't, and I don't see any spots. So either it's light and I really got used to it, or what I think is they just kind of went back to normal. But they showed me like, hey, see how this is ballooning here? Yep, you detached your... I fucked up my eyes from the inside. How do you even fucking do that? By thinking if you be famous, it will kill all your sadness and your problems. And then I got a girlfriend, which was a very necessary step. Lost that relationship amicably, but you know, it ended sooner than I wanted to. And I realized, part of the reason I was not a great partner was because I was so hyped up on this drive, and because I was starting to get what I want. Like, I did get a little better at stand-up, and I got a girlfriend. So part of me was like, it must be working. So I just kept doing it, and it ended up being... There was a lot of moments of going, well, shit, I'm alone. I'm still not getting booked that much. I'm very tired. I don't think I've taken care of myself in like 5 years. And then that was actually right around when I started Jeet Kune Do. So that was a big turning point of, starting to eat better and lift weights and go, you know what's good? Self-improvement. You know what's not good? Self-improvement to the point of self-destruction. So that's why I think this movie is so interesting and so lived in how a very impressionable child becomes a very impressionable adult and ends up going to some pretty dark places, because he doesn't say, but I can just tune my voice to be that much better if I can. He has goals, like he wants to be a composer and stuff, and it doesn't quite work. But his main goal is, if I am super fucking famous for the right reasons, because he keeps getting famous and it's not enough, so he rationalizes it, then I will be happy. But really, he wants his dad to come home.
Yeah.
And he realizes that toward the end, because his dad is also kind of a fame hound in the way that he only starts sniffing around when Robbie becomes successful. And so Robbie is like, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to join this band. And he joins Take That, and he hates it. And then he leaves. And he's like, well, maybe I'll be, the problem there was I didn't have the creative freedom. So he tries to do a solo career and become super famous, and that works. And that does not make him do less cocaine. That makes him do significantly more. And I just think it's so interesting, like I said, the impressionability of when your goal is that nebulous, I want to be a star. What does that even mean? So anyone can just tell you what that means, and suddenly that's all you can think about. Because there's that very... I love the scene where Oasis are kind of villains in this, which is great because they're assholes. Brilliant. I mean, I love Oasis, but not as I wouldn't want to hang out with them. Actually, I would because it'd be interesting, but they're not good people, is what I'm saying. So Liam Gallagher goes like, "Hey, fucking idiot! I'm playing the biggest concert ever." And that means you're nothing unless you do that. And now that's the entire goal of the third act. No one can talk him out of it. He is willing to give up everything, up to and including neglecting his family that he ends up big time regretting. He becomes a very bad partner and, son for a while in pursuit of this thing that was doomed to never make him happy. And the only thing that saves him in the end is the advice that his grandmother tried to warn him about, which is, the spotlight feels good, but your heart is what matters. And he literally, if you've ever wanted to see a movie where a monkey considers slicing its own wrist at the third act climax, this is the film for you. And thankfully he doesn't do it, but he comes close.
Yeah.
So I see myself in the monkey is what I'm saying.
No, I hear you on that one. I really appreciate the indirect allegories to depression. I mean, some of it was very direct. I mean, he did say that the reason he was acting the way that he was, especially during his boy band days, was because he had depression and it was percolating. It was developing and getting worse and worse without him realizing it. And it's interesting how when you hear about people with depression, it's like everything else. We all have a social script or a narrative associated with what we think disorders or anything looks like. We also think, like, we hear depression, it looks like somebody sitting in their room with the blinds closed and the light off, even though it's sunny outside, and they're just crying or whatever, eating ice cream, which we've kind of all done that. But, it's...
I'm talking about my Saturday nights. Except usually I'm not crying, I'm happy about it. What does that say?
Well, that's not depression. That
That's just I like ice cream.
But yeah,
which can be mistaken for one for the other. But
that's true. But
crucial difference.
But like when people hear about depression, they always picture one thing. I love as somebody who suffered clinical depression, I love it when people depict depression's less common and abnormal medications, or like when people try, not medications, but like compensations. So what we're seeing Robbie Williams do is he's compensating for a deeply irregular depressive nervous system, because he, again, does not have the ability to generate happiness or self-acceptance or any of the things that depression takes away. And his solution to that, unlike a lot of people, is to become extremely famous. The dark thing about this is that there are plenty of people who have clinical depression who want to be famous, but they have other personality shortcomings that keep them from doing it. Like they lack discipline, or maybe they don't have the charisma to build connections. Maybe they lack the social skills, social standing, fiscal issues, that sort of thing. There could be a whole number of things that could get in the way of a difficult yet simplistic goal of getting famous. Robbie Williams is an outlier in that way because he had those shortcomings. Like, he was poor, maybe not poor, but he was lower middle class, he was working class. He had the social shortcomings, but they were more like he can't do anything but be a showboat, which put him directly in line with the goal of being famous. So to see somebody try to use fame as a way to heal wounds that they can't even comprehend until they're literally floating in a lake high on cocaine talking to their dad, that's fascinating, especially for someone who has dealt with some of the most intense bouts and darkest expressions of clinical depression as I have. What do you think about this, Alex?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, fame is really the drug that he is most addicted to, and it is the most destructive. And I watch this movie, and I look at him, and part of what makes him interesting to me is that, like, his music is fun, but he's very willing to talk about his, anxieties and problems and stuff. So he's kind of got the sort of like, thinky sad man's pop star kind of thing going on.
Yeah. And
he is someone to me, like you said, he is so driven to be famous and has all the pitfall problems, but has the beautiful voice and, charm to actually get what he thinks he wants. And that is very scary, because one of the things, like, I used to be so upset when I would bomb a show if it went bad. If I was in the Village, I would go sit on the steps of Bob Dylan's first apartment and just cry and be like, what am I suck at that, I'm bad. And I would be so depressed. And now I was so miserable, it's never gonna work. But what if I try harder? It's never gonna work. But what if I try harder? Just doing that, burning myself alive dance.
Right.
And now, as I look at, I haven't done comedy for 2 years. I can't even really watch it. I don't enjoy stand-up anymore. It seems kind of like I know too much about what's going on under the hood and what more things can be said when you're trying, that you're leaving out when you're looking for the joke. And there's a lot more varied, nuanced experiences that I'm more interested to talk about. Like how we do here. Like I get to talk like a person, and then I get to make a joke about being high on a Ferris wheel when I feel like it. But doing it the other way around feels very unnatural to me. Point being, 10 years ago, the thought of not becoming famous would have made my stomach, if you've told me for sure you will never be famous, my stomach would have fallen to my feet. And now I'm like, thank God that didn't actually work. Because if I got what I wanted by the means that I got it, which was, torturing myself essentially, I would have self-destructed and I would have made bad work and I would have been miserable. And it was a big moment for me when I realized that fame itself is literally just advertising, but for people. You are essentially like a Coke ad, and not in the Robbie Williams sniff Coke ad, in a Coca-Cola ad. Like, you are a brand. And that doesn't mean that you're better than anything. That doesn't mean that you do anything more interesting than anything else. That means capitalism has said, you should be the face of some stuff we want to sell. And so when I realized that, and I realized how hard it would be for my actual goals, which is like, I want to get married and have kids and have a nice little life, and that's not something to be ashamed of, that's something to be cherished, and that the things that you want in a relationship like that should be hidden from the world because they are private by nature, and that fame gets in the way of those. I look back on it now, I'm like, I'm so glad I hit a ceiling with whatever talent I had. I could do a fun show. I was not a terrible comedian, but I'm so glad that I'm lucky enough to not have been a great comedian, because I probably would have ended up in a really bad emotional place. And I would have gone through my whole life not getting what I actually wanted and filling it with things that I thought I wanted and doing that hedonic treadmill thing. And I would have gotten to the end of my life and gone, I missed everything that matters, because I knew what mattered the whole time, but I thought I would never get those things. So I went, all right, no woman's going to love me. Well, you know who's going to love me? Rolling Stone magazine. And that's not how love works, bud. Rolling Stone magazine does not love you. I don't think it can. Maybe a journalist there can like you, but that's as far as you're getting, fam.
Oh my God. Why did you want to become famous?
Because I was convinced that it would make me happy and satisfied. I was bitterly convinced that if everyone knew who I was, that would mean I mattered. And it took me a long time to realize that first of all, like they say in the movie, there's no such thing as a nobody. And that is incredibly wise to say, that his grandmother says. No such thing as a nobody. If you don't know somebody's life story, it's because capitalism didn't want to sell you something by telling it to you. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, doesn't mean it didn't matter, it doesn't mean it wouldn't fascinate you if they did tell you. It just means that's what human life is. It's something keep to yourself unless you become in the public eye because you want to ideally get something done, or if you're thrown into it because of a talent and then, everyone's trying to get something out of you. So I wanted to be famous because I thought, well, you know what? On my own, I wanted to just have a little life. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a little house. I wanted to have a kid. I wanted to just be a happy, work from home dad. And I'm in my 30s and I'm alone and I don't know how to talk to people and I don't know how, I don't like myself. I'm so depressed. I'm so anxious. Maybe if I finally get to the next level of being a human being, then I'll start to have some things go my way. And that's not how it works. And honestly, like I said, if you were to ask me enough questions about why do you want to be famous, around 4 or 5, follow-ups, I probably would have just not had anything more to say, because I was thinking about it not in terms of being famous as this, I want to achieve this, I want to have this many specials or whatever. I was thinking about fame as it is the negation of being in pain.
Whoa.
And so I was thinking about it. It's kind of like zero disrespect to anyone who is religious that listens to Day Chaser.
Yeah.
I always get kind of annoyed at the argument of for God, where they go, well, I can imagine an immortal, limitless being, so therefore it must be real. Otherwise, I couldn't imagine that. I'm like, well, you're not imagining that. What you're saying to yourself is, I am mortal, I am finite. It's the opposite of that. So your head isn't literally containing infinity. You're just saying the opposite of what I understand is something bigger.
Right.
So, and like I said, zero disrespect. I just don't love that argument. So if I was really honest with myself, in my mind, being famous was just the opposite of whatever I was doing at that moment, feeling small and feeling sad and feeling self-loathing. And it would be the negation of that in this kind of nebulous, I truly don't even think I knew what it was actually going to do. I just thought if you get some of this fame shit, stuff starts to go right and you start to be able to look in the mirror and not hate what you see. And I'm very, like I said, very glad that I didn't get what I wanted, because I bet you a statistical chunk of people who want to be famous, especially now in the era of social media, that is what they're thinking. They just haven't put labels to it yet. They're literally just thinking, if I'm famous, ... And that's a dangerous mindset for a human being, because it will only make things more difficult. There are some famous people who seem cool, or if they become famous because they want to accomplish some public work goal. Sometimes fame and skill go hand in hand. But point being, if you're like, I want to be famous, you got to ask yourself, what do I think it's going to solve? Because it's only going to make things like Rick Rubin, the producer. He was interviewing, who I think has been red-pilled. We don't have time to get into it. Rick Rubin was interviewing Andre 3000, and they were talking
about
Andre
3000 got red-pilled?
No. Rick Rubin got red-pilled.
Oh, I was about to say, Andre 3000
seems cool.
Yeah. It's like that does not
No, he seems cool.
All right, cool.
He seems very nice. But so Rick Rubin has maybe some questions. The rumor is he helped Kanye get pipeline. We don't have the time to get
Kanye didn't need help. Anyway, you were saying.
No. So Rick Rubin was talking to Andre 3000. They were talking about getting early success, because Rick Rubin was a pretty popular producer in the early 80s when he did License to Ill for the Beastie Boys, so he popped off pretty soon.
Yeah.
And Andre 3000, like Outkast, was fairly successful right out of the gate because they had a hit off of their first album, and then they kept making bangers, so they kept being famous. And then they broke up, I think, maybe 20 years ago. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
they left us with a brilliant movie that nobody talks about, which is called Idlewild. And if you haven't heard about it,
I've been meaning to see that.
I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna put it like this. Idlewild is everything great about Chicago, but way, way, way better. And also, It's a black film. So as good as Chicago stuff, but better versions of it, and it's mostly black people in it. And people think that doesn't matter. It's like, that is a very big deal. It's not easy to get a studio to agree to anything that black people do and have us express ourselves honestly as in art on film, and then also get people to work on it in CGI. Like, that's not normal. That's not normal. And then the movie was good. There's been a lot of bad, movies with CGI that feature black people in it. Maybe not a lot, but enough, you know, like
a statistical plurality, let's say.
Yeah, like anyway, you were saying.
So they were talking about getting famous early, and Rick Rubin and Andre 3000 were basically saying what people don't understand about getting what you want in terms of like, I am a successful music producer, I am a successful rapper, I'm a movie star, whatever. When you're driving toward that goal, you don't feel good because you're trying to fill a hole in you, but you have hope, which means you're on some level kind of having fun and feeling like, you know, if I just work hard enough, you have a purpose. And what Rick Rubin said is you don't understand, but when you get that thing, the hole gets a little bit bigger because it didn't fix what was actually the problem. And now you have all this scrutiny. So they, you know, he's like, when I did License to Ill, I had friends be like, oh, how do you feel? He goes, miserable. This doesn't fix anything. Like, because it's internal work that needs to be done. And also now everyone is staring at you and it's making things so much harder. You know, Sinead O'Connor once said fame is an identity crisis, a constant one. And so I just, and obviously easier said than done, because every film, every story, every whatever about being famous is a cautionary tale. And every day, like a new million kids sign up to TikTok because they want to go viral. So we ain't listening. But the point is, you know, I wish more people would understand, and I say this as a person who fell for this big time, it's not gonna fill the hole, it's gonna make the hole bigger.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. There's this movie I often watch. I talked about it on the One Piece episode of the podcast. Go back and watch that one. But the film that I like to watch a lot as one of my comfort movies is a movie called Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage, where he plays an arms dealer, an international arms dealer by the name of Yuri Orlov, who's based on a real life arms dealer from Brighton Beach, I think, here in Brooklyn. Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where he starts to experience some of the most emotionally negative, some of the darkest parts of his career as an arms dealer. And he explains his thoughts on that scenario, on that experience he had. And he said the two worst things that could happen to a person are as follows. The first one is never getting what you want. The second one is getting exactly what you want. Obviously, This is a contradiction, and initially it doesn't mean much, but if you open yourself up to the idea of what would your life be like if you got exactly what you want, like to the viewer, let's say you are literally the kind of person that wants to be famous, but there are things in your life that you love now and things that matter. Like maybe you have a wonderful relationship with your parents. Maybe you have a dog that you love to spend time with, like a pet in general. There's a possibility that your fate would become, because if you become famous, let's say you want to be a famous singer or famous anything in this world as it currently exists. Fame does not mean I'm famous and I get to go home and be private. Fame means that every decision you make is the make or break factor of thousands of jobs that you are now responsible for that have nothing to do with you. I mean, paycheck after paycheck. You think the millions that you're making are the only money that's being made? No, you are now, I hate to say it, you're kind of a pay pig. You are the biggest source of income in a lot of different people's lives. So you no longer belong to yourself. You belong to other people. There's a scene in the movie A Better Man where he's at the house that he grew up in his upper middle class. I mean, not upper middle class, his working class house, hanging out with his family. And there's hundreds of girls outside the window flashing and taking pictures. His family is not comfortable with that. But I mean, he is. Well, he pretends to be, because he's using that as the medicine to the pain that's inside of him. That would be your life. Imagine you want to just do something as simple as, I don't know, go to a supermarket. But you can't do that because you get recognized in the middle of that supermarket, and then all of a sudden it's not a supermarket anymore. It becomes this convention center that's focused around you, and then you might not like that. Because remember,
now every supermarket becomes a Lindsay Lohan cage, essentially.
Right. And that's a whole other thing when it comes to fame. People will forget that you're a person because the relationship for them is parasocial. It is, by parasocial, if for those who don't understand what that really means, like we've all heard that term before for social media. Parasocial means that you're having a relationship with something through something else. So if like you listening to me and Alex, you're listening to us through our podcast. Your relationship with us right now is parasocial. But let's say you were listening to just Alex through one of the musicals he's going to write in the future. Your relationship with him will be parasocial through one of his musicals. That's how that works. Like there's a liaison. There's like a barrier between you and the thing that you think you have a relationship with. If you're on the other side of that and people have a parasocial relationship with you, then you're not a nuanced entity. You are not somebody with layers. You're not a human being that is happy some days, sad some days, cries, laughs, all of this stuff. All that stuff goes out the window. All you are the things that people know you for via your fame, via your brand. Your humanity is obliterated in some ways.
Yeah.
You got to understand that.
Yeah, and like what you said about how everything you do has to be through the apparatus of your fame now.
Yeah.
Like if you break up with your girlfriend, you have to put out a press release now.
Yeah.
And I remember very specifically, and one of the big things that made me realize, oh, I don't want this, was when my girlfriend and I in 2019 broke up. And I was walking around and I was very upset because I really cared about this woman and I knew she really cared about me and we wanted it to work. And like I said, amicable, but it wasn't going to work. So I was very upset. And I thought the only thing that could make this worse is if everyone knew. If everyone on this street would look at me and go, you fucked up, I was like, that must be a nightmare. Even if you did everything right in your relationship, and God forbid if you did anything wrong, because a lot of celebrities are garbage, but like just an innocent, we tried and it's not working. Now everyone knows. That must be hell.
Right.
That must be horrible.
Right.
And again, I got really close to some of these fires. Not that I had an opportunity to be famous, but I felt like emotionally I got a little taste of what it must feel like, and I did not like it.
And some people are built for it. Like Rihanna, for example, she seems like somebody that can psychologically deal with being famous better than the average person. I'm not just saying that because she eventually became a billionaire after semi-retiring from her music. That is technically an indicator of fame, but not really. Because like MC Hammer is still technically famous. Those who know who he is technically famous, but I'm sure he doesn't have like Rihanna money. But like,
no, he's got a lot of pants though. I remember that.
He had so many parachute pants, which he can't do anything with. But they're all rotting in a warehouse in West Virginia right now. But
just him sitting with a glass of scotch, going, these pants used to mean something.
Right.
Glug, glug, glug.
He had the NFTs of pants.
I don't know why I made MC Hammer a wistful Irish poet there for a second, but that's what I saw in my mind.
But yeah, so like
James Joyce drinking himself to death among 40 boxes of parachute pants.
Yeah, like Rihanna, like not a lot of people are aware of this. As a sidebar to her, Jay-Z's a really messed up person. Jay-Z is a messed up human being. He is.
He's a billionaire. They're all bad. Even Taylor, I'm sorry. But
yeah, Jay-Z is a messed up dude. If you track back far, you don't even have to track back that far, but let's say you track back just as far as Rihanna. Rihanna was like a teenager when they met, and the way that she signed her and this is not me talking. This isn't even hearsay. She said this on an interview. I think she was on Oprah or something. And she said the way that Jay-Z offered her the record deal was she was in this room with him and like a board of directors or something. He said you can either sign this deal. You leave this room two ways. You either leave this room by signing this deal, or you leave this room out of the window. We are 25 stories up. You make the decision. She was a teenager.
Whenever someone says you can leave this room two ways, I don't think I'm going to like either of those ways.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, she was going to sign the he said he was going to throw her out of a window. Do you know how big Rihanna is?
A child out of a window. That's monstrous.
Yeah, and Rihanna's not like a hulking human being. Like, she's small. Imagine her smaller than what she is now as a 16-year-old kid. Anyway, she signs a contract. And if you pay really close attention to like times where she won for her music and everything, like especially there was this one award ceremony where Jay-Z was standing behind her, and the way he was whispering stuff into her ear to coach her through how to talk all the way, like it was it was terrifying to look at.
Yikes.
It genuinely is. If I can find the clip, I'll put it up here. But that being said, over time, Rihanna seemed to like figure out how to be that person, which really sucks in a lot of ways. And yeah, she's a billionaire, but is that really what I mean, she got a bunch of kids now. She married to what's his name, A$AP Rocky. He's from the same neighborhood I grew up in. He's from Harlem. He's a different part of Harlem from me, I think. But you know, they're together now, whatever. In fact, he just paid his whole the building that he just the building he grew up in Harlem. He paid all of the rents for January of all the people in those buildings. So they're not like indecent people. So that's kind of a positive. Like, just because you make lots of money, you get famous, doesn't mean you're gonna be messed up, but there's a chance that you will be, or got there because you already are. That being said, Rihanna found a way to parlay being defined by her fame in a way where now she just kind of accepts it. But she's an outlier among outliers. You're already an outlier by being famous. Imagine having to be famous the way Rihanna got famous, where somebody who's already worth millions is threatening to throw you out of a window as a teenager. Think about that. Where you decide to make money one year in a Middle Eastern country, and the way that you do it is temporarily coming out of retirement while pregnant to pursue a song that you haven't sung in like 20 years. Maybe 20, more like 15, 10 years. And then, yeah, it's good for your brand because now her makeup brand is like the only makeup import associated with that country, so her billions are going to go up more. But what kind of human being would you have to become in order to make that choice? I don't know. Maybe you hear that and go, I'm not hearing anything negative necessarily. Me personally, I don't know about that. I prefer... They
say behind every great fortune is a great crime, and I think that is probably understating a lot of great fortunes.
Oh, yeah.
So...
I prefer, and this, mind you, I'm saying that as being somebody who is from Harlem, which is a district in Manhattan. If you know anything about how Manhattan got quote unquote traded, you'll understand why, like that's Manhattan's existence should not be a thing if you understood how greed percolates over time. I mean, we have Billionaire Row here. It's the whole city is like, as beautiful and as much as I love this city, I can't ignore the fact that it is a direct byproduct of centuries of greed and evil that have literally defined this entire country. And New York happens to be so famous that people don't even realize that Manhattan is just one district in a city made out of 5 cities that's probably made of more like 13 cities stacked on top of each other, but that's a whole other thing. Essentially. But there's something that Denzel Washington said once about fame. He lives here too. But this kind of became my philosophy, because he said, it's not that you want to be famous. You want your work to be famous. And I took that very literally. Like, if you notice, nobody has seen my face on Day Chaser Media. There's a reason for that. I don't want my face to be the famous thing. I want the things that I do with my art, with my hands, to be what's famous. That's what I want. I want my work to be famous. My ultimate dream when it comes to like all this fame stuff, if you had to ask me what my fame dream is I would love to go into, going back to the supermarket, I would love to go to a supermarket, be completely ignored, unbothered, and then casually walk by at least one person listening to this podcast or one of my video essays or one of the other ventures I have in the future, and have no idea that the person responsible for that thing just walked by them. And it's not because of an ego thing. It's just because I just like the idea of still being able to be a person without having my life obliterated by something else I want to do. I mean, I don't know. It just feels wrong to me that if you do something amazing and you happen to get famous, that you have to sacrifice your entire life as a result of a lot of people liking it.
Yeah, because like when you become famous, it's like you know how in X-Men Cable is not a cyborg, he has like that technovirus that his mind is keeping at bay, so it's just his arm.
Yes.
It's like you're that, but it's like advertising is trying to take over the rest of your body, and you're trying to hold it at bay and still be a person. There, as much as he's a kind of a right-wing shithead, Chris Pratt said that he learned in church, and it's that creepy Hillsong church. So but this was good advice. He goes, if the light that shines on you is brighter than the light that shines inside you, it will destroy you. And I think that is solid advice. That is solid advice. If everyone is more concerned about you as a person and not what you are making, that means that your actual product is you. No one should be bought and sold, and no one can be happy being bought and sold. That just then becomes another tactic of marketing, and some people use that to be like, well, you know what, I know that I'm famous, so that means I have more license to make things I really want to make. Sure, there's a currency element to it, but if you're so famous that you're on the cover of magazines that are just lying about you constantly, are you a human being at that point? I know you are, but everything around you, the air you breathe, is telling you you are a billboard that everybody can point at. And that must be, not to say boohoo for rich people, but it must either destroy you, or it must take a person who is so sociopathically okay with just doing whatever, no matter who gets hurt, even themselves, that is also scary. And so, point being, I'm glad the monkey figured some shit out, because he was doing big lines of coke and big lines of fame, and then he did the biggest concert ever, and it didn't make him happy.
He did so much. It's
not going to make him happy.
He did so much cocaine, his fur turned blonde. I mean, honestly, look, I'm gonna put the clip up. Look at this. He's a blonde monkey because of the coke. They don't even show him dyeing his hair. You can literally assume that he did so much coke that he turned blonde. That's hilarious. I mean,
that's my favorite.
He's not a monkey in real life, but that's not the point. That's how much coke he was doing. That's what he's trying to tell us.
That's how much cocaine the monkey did, which we can assume is equivalent. If we power scaled the amount of coke the monkey was doing to the amount of... It's a different type of channel.
Oh my God. Okay. Final thoughts on this?
Like I said, I think it's a really interesting exploration of how when you don't get what you want on a personal level, and you won't accept that you're not allowed to have those things that are very reasonable to have, you will conflate happiness to some nebulous more that will then be filled by essentially predatory ideas. Because, if you said to that little kid who just wants his dad back in the little kid monkey, hey, you're going to play 250,000 people, would he want to do that? I don't know. Probably takes all those layers of getting there, and then his, he does it, and it doesn't fix anything. And when you're that almost childlike naive toward what's going on actually in your heart, when you're that codependent that you want the world to regulate your nervous system, you become, I don't think useful idiot is the right term, because that sounds too dismissive of your intelligence, but you are very, very susceptible to being just anything. You should do this. That'll make you madder. Okay, Liam Gallagher, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to do that because you said a thing to me once while you were on coke. Anyway, I'll be over here doing coke. We do coke in this movie. Have you seen us do coke in this movie? It's a lot of coke.
Actually, that I'm so glad I remembered this in the last second. There is one, because we've been doing a lot of doom and gloom for don't try to become famous, and that's all good.
I've got a little doom and gloom to pass it off that I just remembered, but you go first.
Yeah.
I forgot a little extra, but continue.
Well, no, you go ahead. Say the bit you were going to say. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so have you seen the movie Capote?
Which movie?
Capote.
Capote? No, I haven't. It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's a biopic of Truman Capote with Philip Seymour Hoffman. And so the whole thrust of this film, as it happened in real life, was he's writing this book called In Cold Blood that was like a true crime kind of novelized off of a real crime. And he became correspondent, friends-ish, with one of the guys that did the murder.
Right.
And he was trying to kind of help the case. And then he kind of back, I can't remember exactly what he did, but he did something, either stepped back or said something, whatever, that made the guy get the death penalty. And it's heavily implied that he did it because he knew it would be the best ending to the book.
Wow.
And then the last shot is just sort of him drinking, looking miserable, and there's a quote from his, I think, final book, or at least a later book called Answered Prayers. So there are more tears shed over answered prayers than unanswered. And it's like, oh yeah, he got what he thought he wanted, and it made him feel like a murderer, and he just drank himself to death.
Wow. Yeah, that is doom and gloomy.
So you do a happy thing now. That's your role now.
Okay. The bars has been set. So there was something in the movie that not only was inspirational and uplifting to me personally, but it's kind of been carrying a lot of my choices philosophically over the last maybe couple of months. For those of you who saw the One Piece podcast, you know that my father passed away tragically very recently, and it was a very dark and tragic and gruesome way that he died. And I was forced to deal with the entire thing by myself because I was my father's only child. I have 5 siblings. Interestingly enough, sidebar, one of my siblings happens to be Stephanie, who does the Wrestling in Color podcast on YouTube. Her podcast is great. Check that out. Hopefully I'll have her as a guest on this one. Anyway, I have 5 siblings on my mother's side. On my father's side, it was just me. And it was a horrifyingly dark experience of what I went through, what I had to see, the things that he told me about himself, and the things that I learned about myself, my family, all of this stuff. And something about being drenched, I don't know if that's a word, but something about
it is now.
There you go. Something about being so deep in that darkness forced me to reevaluate how I was dealing with some of my personal fears associated with providing for myself and my family, especially growing up a millennial in a climate that priced you out of surviving anything. And I was wrestling with my philosophies on how I felt I needed to survive, how I needed to work as hard as I possibly could. Basically, the whole grind set, mindset, hustle culture thing, I fell for just enough of it to be able to build a career out of nothing, which honestly led to all of the skills that allows me to do this podcast. Anyway, when you're motivated negatively, the way that Robbie Williams was in this movie, it causes you to do great things for bad reasons, and then you self-abandon while also achieving amazing things. And then people don't stop you because you're caught in this wave of contradiction where everything you're doing is perceived as good, but nothing you're doing to yourself as you do it is good. And then I'm doing all of this, and it's like a 8-year speed run. I wasn't doing drugs or anything because I'm very straight edge. Like, I literally don't even drink coffee. Like, that's where I'm at. But it's the way that I was choosing to work as hard as I possibly could for the sake of surviving, because it just felt like there was so much pressure on me. And then my father passed away, and everything grinds to a halt. In fact, he passed away a couple months after I lost my job, which was it was the highest paying job I ever had, and out of the blue I lost it. And it wasn't because they didn't want me, it's because it's just between the terrorists and AI, they just couldn't afford to keep me on anymore with the skill set that I brought to the table. So then he passes away, and I'm up and down trying to survive, getting like freelance clients here and there. And then Alex hits me up one day to hang out. He's like, hey, you want to watch Better Man? This movie's great. I only show it to my very close friends. And I'm like, yeah, of course, let's watch this movie. And it was a great way to get my mind off all of this stuff. So I sit down with this movie, and eventually we come to a part right after Robbie Williams tries his solo career, when he gets kicked out of the boy band, and things aren't really working out for him as fast as he wants them to. So he links up with a friend of his, and they're trying to make some music, and Robbie's having a hard time focusing on the right things. And then his friend gives him one piece of advice and that's been the thing that I repeated in my head over and over again for like the last 3 months. It was from this movie. He said, this might be shit, but it's your shit. I loved that quote because it became a mantra that I would repeat to myself, where I said, this might not be the thing that gets me everything I want out of life, but it belongs to me, and I need to let that be the most valuable thing about it. That has to be enough. That has to be enough. The amount of money is not, it can't be the goal because it's not healthy for the way my mind works. The amount of money it makes is not what's healthiest. The things that I achieve, the way that I grow, or blah, blah, all of this stuff that I kept assigning to every single action and every single ambition that I had, none of those things were helping me. So it had to be simpler and cleaner and smaller. And it was just the value of, I made this and that's enough. That's enough. Yeah. Essentially, the way I feel about my kids, like I don't think of them as they got to grow up and be. I don't Robbie Williams dad them the way that Robbie Williams dad did to him. I look at them, I'm like, they're enough because they exist and that's it. I needed to take that mentality of how I looked at them and apply it to me. And that one sentence, it might be shit, but it's your shit, is such a wonderful mantra to remind me of let go. Trust yourself. Everything is going to be okay. Don't stop. Keep going, not because you need to survive, but because you enjoy what you do.
You want to live authenticity so you can be a better man. Good night, everybody.